Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Today we're going to look at the rallies. We always want to keep track of what is happening on the ground as far as the political election playfield is concerned, what the main parties are doing, where they had rallies and what happened at those rallies. So we want to keep you posted. But before we get to that, we know that tomorrow the MDC Alliance President Nelson Chamisa will be meeting with other opposition leaders to discuss their grievances, especially about ZEC, about the ballot paper. They are not happy with the inspection. They say that they want more access. They want to know where the ballots are being stored. And in fact, they've even gone as far as to threaten that they will have a vigil, or maybe, I don't know whether to call it a demonstration, but more like an all-night vigil, maybe every night until the election, to try and pressure ZEC. My question is this not opening a door to violence? Or is this what democracy is? Let me know your thoughts with your views, comments, contributions. We'll be reading them out as we go along. But back to my panels. Gentlemen, let me start with you, Acie. What do you think of tomorrow's meeting with Nelson Chamisa and the opposition leaders?
So, I have said for the longest time that if Nelson Chamisa was going to have a puncher's chance in this election, and in boxing, what they call a puncher's shot is you might be the underdog, but you got a puncher's shot. You throw one good punch, even though you're the weaker kid or you're the weaker boxer, you throw one good punch, you could knock the other guy out. Now, I always said Nelson Chamisa, the only way he would end up with the puncher's shot was if he was able to figure out how to get the rest of the puzzle together. If he was able to figure out how does he rope in Thokozani Kupe, how does he rope in Kosana Moyo, Noah Manyika, Mai Mujuru, Joseph Busha, and the other clowns. If he was able to make the circus bigger, because they're running a circus, but if the circus was able to come into full play, then we got a show. So what do I think about the meeting? Now I've got him say this, it's a big if he is able to put them all in the same room, around the same table. Oh God, Chamisa has a fighter's shot, and a good puncher's shot at it, if he is able to. Do I think he will? Here is going to be the problems they're going to learn tomorrow. He might have found a way to manage his ego, arrogance, pride, to make this happen for the sake of this, to call the meeting. But the trouble is, I think the arrogance in the other opposition members, they'll still say no. So they won't come. I refuse to believe that Chamisa's meeting will be attended by at least the sequenced political leaders who are after him. He might have a lot of the smaller guys, but I don't see maybe Noah Manyika would go, but I don't see Mai Mujuru going there because she wants some sort of special summoning. I don't see Nkosana going there because you want some sort of special summoning. So I think it will be a flop, but if he does it, I'll be the first one to raise my hands up and say he has a fighter's shot.
Agerncy, do you think that tomorrow is a defining moment for Nelson Chamisa as a leader of the opposition? Acie has said that, look, he might not have, that other members, leaders of opposition parties may have egos that are too big for them to just attend and rally behind them. Do you think he has a fighting chance on selling this Virgil proposal and this pressure that he's trying to apply to ZEC? Do you think he can get everyone to rally behind him and lead them? Will they allow him to lead them?
So, in order for one to fully comprehend the suggested phenomenon and also the efforts of the people of Zimbabwe as led by President Nelson Chamisa and also various civic society organizations and movements, one must first understand the long-standing demands that have been raised in proposition for the establishment of a democratic and constitutional society in Zimbabwe, and consequently the holding of free, fair, and credible elections. The call by the president of the MDC Alliance to have all opposition movement leaders come together is but a continuation of a legacy that has been left in our possession or left in our hands by our fallen comrades. The propositions for a democratic and constitutional Zimbabwe has seen us lose a lot of comrades who died. Has seen us, has seen our sisters and brothers lose limbs. Has seen fathers alienated from their sons, and we are not at any stage willing to betray that which our comrades died for. Our comrades died for a Zimbabwe where an election will be held, and an election will be held credibly, where a people's victory will not be sabotaged, and where the will of the people is not hijacked. So Nelson Chamisa's call is not necessarily a call to fan his own ego, but it is a call to continuity. It is a call to say there is something that we have fought for. It's a call that even suggests fighting for that which our fathers fought for in the liberation struggle, the principle of one man, one vote. Broadened, this principle simply means that whichever vote is cast must be respected in its entirety. So this is what the president is saying. He's saying, no, let's get to a point where we say, where we overlook the differences that we have because of our personal egos and personal ambitions. Let's begin to consider that which we view as the ultimate Zimbabwe, or the Zimbabwe that we all dream of. And that is a Zimbabwe where democracy reaches its zenith, and where democracy is matured to a level that state institutions are not seen meddling with the will of people, with the will of the people. State institutions are not seen sabotaging the will of the people. So if you are to ask me about the proposed vigil, as you said in your submission, I'll tell you that the vigil is not a separate event, neither is it an isolated occasion. It is just but a continuation of the efforts that have been put in exerting pressure on the incumbent ZANU-PF regime for them to observe constitutionalism and for them to observe the very ethos of democracy.
Lumumba has said that he doesn't see everyone coming along. Now, Animal Farm says some animals are more equal than others. And I'm going to assume even in this election, even when it comes to the presidential candidate, there's some who will say they carry more weight than others. Can we say that there are certain individuals who we need to stand with Chamisa for him to be more credible? For instance, Thokozani Kupe, who was a member of, they were members of the MDC together. If she doesn't stand with him, does that affect his credibility at all? Do you think that is important, that certain people have to stand with him?
Right. In getting to that, I'll tell you that the philosophy of unity in the opposition movement was propagated by our late icon, Dr. Richard Morgan Tsvangirai. And this is the same philosophy that President Nelson Chamisa is trying to carry through into the new Zimbabwe. And his call to other political parties shows the sincerity in the pursuit of this philosophy. Now, is everyone going to come? Probably not. Why? Because, you know, we have a challenge of contestation of egos in our politics as a nation. And I think with time that has got to be redefined, and we have got to change the narrative of how we do politics. So you mentioned the element of Thokozani Kupe. Thokozani Kupe is a respected member and cadre of the opposition movement. She served as the vice president of the MDC under the leadership of Morgan Richard Tsvangirai. Do we respect her? We do. Do we need her? Yes, we do. But it's also a constitutional right of hers to make a decision as to who she intends to follow or who she intends to subscribe to. If she comes tomorrow to the meeting, it's a win for the people of Zimbabwe. The reason being, the holding of a credible election is not a matter that will benefit Nelson Chamisa alone. It's a matter that will benefit generations, and it's a matter that will redefine the politics of our country for years to come. So if she happens to come, and if Noah Manyika happens to come, and every political leader happens to come, they are coming because they understand that the holding of a free, fair, and credible election is not just about them winning this election, but it's about them and their people's voice being considered and recognized and respected even in the elections to come. It's about them setting precedent That's what we need to understand. It's not about them coming to endorse Nelson Chamisa, but it's about them coming to challenge a system that has eroded the moral and constitutional values of our country. That's what the meeting, tomorrow's meeting is about.
Acie, Vice President Chiwenga has warned Nelson Chamisa that inciting violence and what he's trying to do, will incite violence, might incite violence. And clearly that will leave them with no option but to react to it.
So, I think sitting next to Agerncy is always fascinating because Agerncy has strange facts. Agerncy said as a matter of a fact that Morgan Tsvangirai was a unifying factor. I mean, Morgan Tsvangirai is synonymous with division, okay? I can walk you through a sequence of key divisions Morgan Tsvangirai has. When Morgan Tsvangirai, together with the rest of the founding members of MDC, began the so-called Movement for Democratic Change, there's a reason it ended up being named after a human being, the man who ran it. It's called MDC-T. It's MDC Tsvangirai, Chinachake. The reason it ended up getting there, you had MDC 99, you had MDC Renewal, you had MDC Washman Ngube, MDC A to Z. You got there not as a means of unity or as a manifestation of unity. You get to that place as a manifestation of division. I cannot tell you a moment by which MDC can attribute unity in politics in the MDC to Morgan Tsvangirai. This is the same guy who not only in his life was there disunity in the political party that saw it break up. Tendai Biti, who was his secretary general, left. Oh, I'm not even going to talk about what he said when he left. Washman Ngube, who was his secretary general, left. So I don't want to go into why they left, but I'm just dealing with the issue that I don't know if this is the definition of unity, then we are in a lot of trouble. If the people who want to unite us, their version of a great unity is division. But to the matter of tomorrow, to the statement that General Chiwenga gave, that you call it a warning, particularly that he gave to Nelson Chamisa, I hope Nelson Chamisa is not inciting violence. And I don't think that's what he's doing. I think he is making a play. If we're talking about playbooks, and his play is, let's make sure the process doesn't happen. Now, his version of events is the process must not happen if our demands are not met. I think my version of events is the process must not happen if I've got a chance of losing. The process must only happen if I have a chance of winning. The real danger in the comment that, in the response General Chiwenga gave, is General Chiwenga is concerned not so much about even Nelson's behavior, but you see, Nelson has supporters. Just like Emmerson Mnangagwa has supporters. And you have the vanguard in MDC, which is a committed group of young people to violence. Their commitment and dedication is to violence. Now, I'm not even going to start talking about how we know they're committed to violence, but likewise, these elements exist in ZANU-PF too. So I'm not exempting ZANU-PF from this. Those elements exist too. So the problem with starting such a firecracker is, imagine you find yourselves in a situation where you have an unstoppable train, the bullet train, coming towards an immovable wall, and the two are collaborating with each other. An immovable project thing coming against an unstoppable train. That is a recipe for disaster. And why are we doing it? Because Nelson Chamisa thinks he's going to lose. He's not going to lose. Go to the election, Chamisa. You're probably going to win. It will be Chamisa chete chete. My ex, tepete tepete. Chamisa should just go to the election and win.
Just in response to that, please.
I'll respond first to, he raised two issues, the issue of violence and also the issue of Morgan Tsvangirai not being a unifier and being an architect of division. Fundis of political philosophy will tell you that political parties invent and reinvent themselves. The process of reinvention sometimes means serious contradictions within the leadership and the membership of the party. Has MDC gone through this? Yes, it has. Has ZANU-PF gone through it over the years? Several times. History has it on record. And now to then suggest that the very same person who oversaw the signing of the pact, which is now the MDC alliance, to insinuate that he is a divider, when he is in fact the very same person who we have seen in Zimbabwean history, who managed to bring together a coalition against the incumbent. It's Morgan Tsvangirai. He mentions Tendai Biti who left. He mentions Welshman Ncube who left. Where are they today? Around which table are they sitting? They've come back home. They've come back to the reunified MDC and the reunified opposition movement. So I will not delve any further into that. The facts speak for themselves. Now let me get to the issue of violence. Violence and MDC are not things that can be said in the same sentence. Jesus. MDC has been known for being advocates and ambassadors of peace in the political structure of this country. We have a challenge, rather, that every political party is made up of individuals, and individuals who have brains that function and they can respond accordingly to any situation. If you antagonize, you should expect at any point, and at some point, rather, a ripple effect of the same antagonism. I was at a rally today which was addressed by President Nelson Chamisa. It was at the border of Harare East and Goromonzi South, a place popularly known as Gazebo, Bobo. Caledonia. And some people, of course, with the mention of the name Caledonia, they will know what the place is. Before the president came, because he was addressing a rally in Mavuku, before he came to address a rally there was a clampdown and a deliberate act of violence by individuals, young individuals who were clad in ZANU-PF regalia and visibly drunk and visibly on some drug that they themselves cannot afford, indicating issues to do with sponsorship of violence. The police had to come in after 18 of our members were injured. It's on record. A report was made even to the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission, who attended to the scene and even attended to the injured people. A police report has been opened and investigations are underway. So this is what exactly happened. Now the area does not have so much, manpower in as far as police enforcement and reinforcement is concerned. We ended up having the police themselves requesting that we assist, that the MDC itself and its supporters and its security team assists in dissuading these perpetrators of outrageous violence. And let me tell you what happened today. These people were sent to their flight by young people who were resolute to say, look, we did not provoke you. We came to an area so that we can have our president address our needs. You don't come and you disturb us and you throw stones at us. Not even a single member of ZANU-PF got hurt from the young people in MDC trying to defend themselves. Because they realized that they did not have a monopoly to violence. People in MDC are peace-loving. Not necessarily that they are unable to react. Remember, this is not an incitement of violence, but this is simply telling you that Lumumba neni ndo ZANU-PF indru MDC. Astaka fanana kandrochi bakera panapa ndo kuna report police. As pane dzimwe ngozo ndo kuna right chamwarika kuti nditorarama panapa ndo kuna kudonedza nebhutsi iwe. But anyway, this is not what we want going forward. What we experience today in Goromonzi South is an unfortunate event. It should not happen anywhere else. It should not be repeated. Now,
my question then would be, look, does this not mean that this situation can blow up? I mean, these are first indicators. You know, are we ready? Okay, is the MDC ready to continue maybe? Say pazowanda vanhu vakawanda steering kuti paitika some sort of violence. Can MDC contain it? Because the fact that last Monday this has happened, and this Virgil might come on Wednesday, I understand. Is it not a little too soon? Is it not time to maybe step back and just reflect and let tempers cool down?
You see, history is good on one thing, that it's self-evident. In all the efforts that the MDC has exerted towards building Zimbabwe, violence has never been a tool that we utilize. Hate speech has never been a tool that we utilize. And as such, we can never have a disruption of the process or the programs that have already been planned by the party leadership, simply because we had a few goons who decided to go haywire today and exert violence on our supporters. We continue. The message to the supporters, the message from the leadership, even when the president addressed the issue of violence today in Gurumodzi South, he made it very clear to say, isu atisi vanhu vemhiri zhonga. Nyaya yedu tinoikundiswa naMwari. And Mwari anokurudzira peace. And this is the message that we continue to send to our people. But it's appalling that even after there was a pledge that was signed by ZANU-PF representatives towards peace, there is still certain elements within the divide of ZANU-PF who remain stubborn and stick to the things of yesteryear. Do we have violence in every place today? No. I would say we have had less violence in this election than we have had in any election in Zimbabwe. And it's commendable. We need to continue on the peace trail. Let's deal with peace and let's deal with issues to do with technical makeup of this coming election.
Wonderful.
I officially think MDC and its supporters are the most dangerous mindsets we have in this country. Agerncy says that MDC is a peace-loving party. There is no history of violence. Oh my God. MDC, 4 years ago, at Harvest House, Elton Mangoma was beaten up by the youth structures of MDC, and he came out on a picture bloodied. Morgan Tsvangirai came in and offered to, and mentioned he would reprimand the young people who had done this, they now identified them, blah, blah, blah. Thokozani Kupe, if you remember a video that circulated, was locked in a room in her office by the vanguard of MDC. She was promised torture, rape, hurt by MDC. The leader of MDC came out and issued a public statement. The young leader, he wore his hat, he sat on a chair. He justified his actions. He didn't come on tape to say he was sorry. He came on tape to explain why what they did is the right thing to do. MDC's primary elections, the #1 protested issue on the bill of complaints that was tabled, according to Nelson Chamisa's words, as he reported to the public, is people are complaining that there's violence. Don't be violent. But he mentioned the #1 complaint is that there is violence. When you say that MDC has no history or is not a violent party, it freaks me out, because I wonder, are you just selling a propaganda or do you actually believe this? He says MDC is not a party that practices hate speech. I challenge anybody watching, go through the comments of this show and see if there is no hate speech. Go through the comment section on anyone who is anti-MDC and see if MDC members, known members, will not come and propagate hate speech. But worst of all, go to Charlton Wende's page, one of the seniors in MDC. Go to his page and just watch his comments. I am worried that, I'm not worried that they do it. I'm worried that they actually believe it's not hate speech. It's not violence. That is peace-loving. It's peace-loving. When we go and we stand outside of ZEC and we say, Shigaramba toita jeje, Shigaramba. That's peace-loving. Masoge kuingarejara, tukusimbisa morali. Awomana wadawati kwa please.
You're watching Election Playbook, and in studio with me, I have our analysts, Agerncy, Gumbo and Acie Lumumba. We want to know which team you are. Which of these two gentlemen is speaking to you right now? And again, if you have attended any rallies, please tell us what was the experience, and we want to hear your views, your comments. Acie, how do you think ZANU-PF should react if the Virgil goes ahead? Right. How do you think they should react?
So, they definitely shouldn't do what they used to do, because we all know that game. I mean, me and the Agerncy, once upon a time, were both in the opposition, and I can tell you we didn't like the way they reacted to this type of moves. Because kana yaku kia so team yacho babaka ndiyo kia wewe wakaporo ne mbreno baba unowaviwa 21 days waro ne mvura. So I hope that's not what they will do. What I do hope they will do is they will allow the opposition to exercise their democratic lenience, and they'll let them exercise it. In the video, I don't think you should stop them. And make sense. Let them do it. As long as MDC is not causing anybody any harm, any property any harm, I see absolutely no harm in what they're doing to themselves. However, I think what ZANU-PF should do, should the situation escalate, is they should be the bigger party. As a party, a political institution, ZANU-PF has no business getting in the way of MDC. It has no business beating them up, stopping them, interacting with them, what they do it. The police, ZEC, election observers, security agencies, they have the responsibility of reacting to security threats, should it get there. Whether it will get there or not, or it's most likely going to get there, because, but again, this is a peace-loving party. They don't do any violence. When they throw punches at women, they're not really punches. They're just massaging the women with their fists. So it's not really punches. So when that happens, I guess
Agerncy, you're burning.
MDC won't call it violence.
I am burning, and at the same time, really touched, because what Acie is submitting before the viewers and on this show signals or signifies the general attitude that ZANU-PF as the ruling party has towards the great questions of the day. You surely cannot reduce a process that is meant, a constitutional process that is meant to address the questions of the day to this is not what this is about. I mentioned earlier that we lost people in the pursuit of this cause. People lost their properties in the pursuit of this cause, in the pursuit of a democratic and constitutional Zimbabwe. To then try to trivialize the efforts of the remaining Zimbabweans who are still persistent on the cause as merely kufarira kurohwa nechando is sorry. And I hope really that this is not a reflection of ZEC itself as we are going to confront them starting tomorrow and going forward. I hope this is not the attitude. Because if this is the attitude, then it is a recipe for disaster. It is a recipe for an unconstitutional government. It is a recipe for a contested and a rigged election. This must not be the attitude. The attitude should be clearly about concentrating on the demands that are raised by the people. Let's not trivialize this. It's not a trivial matter.
Whose attitude must be that way?
I said ZEC. Are you following my submission?
Am I ZEC?
Are you following my
Am
submission?
I ZEC?
I said I hope your sentiments are not a reflection of ZEC's attitude. I hope your sentiments are not a reflection of ZANU-PF's attitude, because these are serious matters. People died. So you see, that's a wrong mentality. It's a wrong attitude, because people are not coming to run chando because they like to run chando. I have a house. But I'm going to be there because I want my child to grow up in a constitutional country. I want my child to grow up in a country that is democratically structured, in a country where my child will know he can run for MP, run for president, and not be cheated in that particular election. This is the cause. Let's not trivialize that. I beg, let's not trivialize that.
Okay, but
let me just acknowledge
it's offending. It's really offending. No. It's offending. No. Let me be very clear. It's offending now when someone who happens to speak on behalf of the regime, either officially or unofficially, passes such sentiments before the country and before an election, 6 days before an election. You don't say such reckless stuff.
Okay, kana makunodzirwa muri kuvejo. Vanhu pavachabuda vachinodzirwa kuvejo, so that meaningful exercise, let there be peace for everyone. Them and those who are also going to be there.
I agree. I agree.
We
lost people.
Yeah,
pursuing this cause. We can continue.
So we continue. Please, allow me to acknowledge maybe tone it down a little bit.
As long as the attitude is receptive, as long as the attitude remains within the confines of the law, as we intend to remain within the confines of the Constitution and what is guided by the law. But as long as the attitude do not collide, let's have a peaceful election. Let's have a peaceful vigil. For even the MDC supporters, the president is very clear about that. Let's have our processes peaceful. Let's have them peaceful. But let's also have the attitude of government, ZEC and ZANU-PF. Let's have that attitude. They need to sober up.
There are those who tuned in to the election playbook, and I just want to acknowledge Edith Chibamu. Edith says Idiphe. And Costain Tichareva says Agerncy Akaipa. And Garikai Mzekua says Lumumba. So we still want to know, are you team Lumumba or are you team Agerncy Gumbo? Please write in your comments and then we will acknowledge you. Gentlemen, I do want us to move away from this ZEC story, which we know is continuing, it's fluid. Tomorrow we'll be on it as well when we review what would have happened after that meeting. I want to look at today's rallies. MDC had, Nelson Chamisa had 3 rallies. That was in Goromonzi West and also in Mavugu. And what was the other one?
Goromonzi South.
Goromonzi South. And
Caledonia, isn't it?
That's
Caledonia is Mavugu.
Yeah, okay.
I've given you a chance. I'm going to go to Acie. Okay. Acie, we also had Vice President Chiwenga having a rally as well today, Snake Park. What's your view of today's rallies?
So, I like where Nelson Chamisa spent his day. And I'll tell you why I like where he spent his day. Mavuku is a constituency which was incumbent by Maridadi. There was conflict in Mavuku as a result. Now, I've always said this. If you look back, I've always said, well, I thought MDC, Chamisa particularly, needed to consolidate where he was already strong. So the Maridadi conflict caused a little bit of disunity in Mavuku. He came in and solved the problem, removed the cancer, reaffirmed the party, got the party to bolster up again. This, I think he did well. And I've always said, if Chamisa does that, because you're taking a constituency where you're already at 6,000 votes, and you're making sure you reinforce it so you take that 6 to 12. You make up the numbers with the numbers that you've bolstered from such a constituency. So I think Mavuku, good rally. The turnout, I guarantee you, ZANU-PF cannot do that. I would rally. Masimire mwana zano mbona naita one rally one. Anga jo square tendere raj famana no kuru. Anga next no famana no kuru masimire bua. Those are no fara wona no kuru fara wona no background. Then you go to the next constituency. Why I like the fact that he went to Caledonia. Terence Mukupe. I had almost put money to say Terence Mukupe was going to thrash Tendai Biti. Why? Because Terence Mukupe was out campaigning Tendai Biti. He was out campaigning him in every way. Simply because Tendai Biti anenge masimirembwa. Anofariro kufamba ne vanhu vakuru. Tendai Biti agonogara mbamake anenge njapisi. Anogoti babake mnoto muvava. Anda kuri muviri wake uri busy nekutenderera nyika. Pana Chamisa ndo paanenge patsotsa mara. Agone kusiya Chamisa. So kwese kwaanenge kunenge na Chamisa ndo kunenge kuna Tendai Biti. And I think he exposed an important constituency, Harare East. And Nelson Chamisa going there reaffirms a very strategic constituency, but more so the area you went to. Caledonia is a settlement yakabva igara kubocha. Bakoyaga settler mu Caledonia. The area didn't even exist in the last election, the last proper election, 2013. By the time Terence Mukupe came in the by-election in 2014, the constituency now had a new whole area called Caledonia. If you even look at the voting structure, the ward that represents Caledonia is the ward that gave Terence Mukupe the numbers. Agatoro and ward support unit. So I say that to say Nelson Chamisa going there beefs up a very important, crucial constituency, and it hurts Mukupe a little bit. If they're able to continue it, Mukupe is in trouble. Mukupe is in a lot of trouble because constituency yagara inongopisa musoroga vanaya vatode ZANU-PF tanga tambodhonza Mukupe amoni mari ari kuiwana kupi bari kwaari kuiwana iri kubuda baba and yanga ichibuda ichipinda Chamisa yakazviba rakasha zvese. So good rally. Then he started penetrating Goromonzi. Why I think Goromonzi is important? You look at the area he went to. Goromonzi had a boogeyman called Padijanda. Padijanda ndiyakazorohwa naOzias Bvute. So there was a potential split there. Avana kuzosvika Ozias Bvute no go area. But they went into the border. Vatenderera maborder munotenderereka macho. Why I like it is they're taking whatever you can take. They know kuti amuzopindike zvamo muwest because kungori nemastronghold ekuti ZANU-PF haipinde or MDC haipinde vanongozori inonstarter. So vatenderera the perimeters. They went into Goromonzi South, kwanaka gonye kunogona kudonedzwako. They went kwa Energy Mtodi kunogona kudonedzwako. Because the MDC candidates in those constituencies, unlike the first two I mentioned, are actually weak. The Goromonzi South candidate and the Goromonzi West candidate, they are very weak because they've lost for the last 20 years. So you can't call them strong. But here comes Chamisa, and he is able to spring start their rallies. So I think for Nelson Chamisa, very good day. For Constantine Gouveia Chiwenga, he went also to a very strategic constituency. He went to constituency inonzi Kambuzuma, kwa Mai Uhungwe. It's already a ZANU-PF constituency, but we won it through a by-election. There's an issue in Snake Park of the 3,000 stands. Angakabude mumono, angakawana dzimba, papamuka nyonga nyonga wabirana. And those 3,000 stands represent potentially 12,000 votes. Angakurasika. Because ZANU-PF yanga yajita self-defeat. Ndo yakatanga yega in program yema stands. Ndo yakaporonga yega program yacho yema stands. Vanoya vakuti makambo today direta akunovotera chinja. He went there, first of all, fixed their problem very quickly and reaffirmed ZANU-PF's position to potentially take that seat back. So I think Chamisa will win where he went. I think he won where he went, and I think General Chiwenga also won where he went.
Agerncy, can you add to that? Do you think that after today's rally, for someone like Tendai Biti, he can sleep well? Does he need to do more work, or he can take a back seat and say, well, you know, our president did the work for us. It's now in the bag. Right.
So I will concede to some of the issues raised in analysis by Mr. Lumumba here. But rather, let me correct a couple of misinformation that the public might be hampered with. First of all, the president did not address a rally in Harare East today. He addressed a rally in Goromonzi South. This has got nothing to do with the Tendai Biti and Terence Mukupe debacle in Harare East. I know where the confusion might come from. If you understand what they call delimitation of constituencies, you realize that there is a gray area between the demarcation and boundary of Harare East and Goromonzi South. The president today was right at the boundary, but addressing a rally for Goromonzi South. Terence Mukupe will just be a strong throw away. So the people that came to the rally, we believe, are people from Goromonzi South. They are not the Terence Mukupe element. So I will not dwell so much on that. Meaning that the question you asked me probably does not arise. Does the rallies today help Tendai Biti as a member of the alliance and as a leader and a principal of the alliance? Yes, it does. But as a member of parliament, probably not. And now, you also need to understand something. Look at the strategic placement of Nelson Chamisa's rallies. All 70 plus of them. Nelson Chamisa has deliberately targeted areas that, number one, have been ZANU-PF strongholds, as my brother alluded to. Number two, places that were reeling in political violence, intimidation, and electoral malpractice. And then number three, areas where the MDC was traditionally strong, but the support base had started to dwindle because of the contradictions between the electorate and the then leadership. So his major mandate was to solidify the base. Remember, Mdara Changrai did a great job in selling the opposition and democracy narrative. Nelson Chamisa's mandate and task in the past 5 months was to make sure that he brings the party back to its strength. And this is exactly what he is doing. He went today, the rally in Goromonzi South is particularly exciting. Reason being, there has not been any opposition party over the years that has been able to hold a rally in that particular area. It was generally considered as a ZANU-PF hot zone. Hakushikwe. Mudara Mogiza tried to get there, vakaitwa barricade, urunzwa, vakaitwa barricade, vakagumira kula faki simenduka, vanakushika. Today Nelson Chamisa got there. The violence erupted prior, which probably alludes and gives as evidence to the point that I just raised. Violence erupted, but nonetheless the people were not deterred. And the people's president did not consider his own security, but said, the people of my party and the people who are demanding change are gathered at this place. They've been gathering for hours while I was addressing other rallies. I will come and I will address. And then he boldly came and delivered a message. Now, in the message that he delivered to the people of Goromonzi South, particularly the Gazebo Bobo area, this is a place which is still considered under the Rural Councils Act. And the president made a clear and deliberate promise to the people that once he gets into office, he was going to urbanize Goromonzi South and ensure that it ceases from being a peri-urban area into becoming a fully urban area with all amenities provided. He also promised to deal with the issue that is troubling that particular area together with Mavuku and Goromonzi West, the issue of land barons. He promised to bring sanity in the way land was acquired and distributed to the citizens. He made a deliberate promise to the people of Zimbabwe to say, look, it should not be held as demo land. That simply means that there is no guarantee of property rights. And he made that promise again. He has reiterated the promise to the people. He also made a promise in Mavuku today. I'm particularly interested in the submissions by my president today. He made a promise to the people of Mavuku today that there has been a challenge because Mavuku was a totally MDC council zone. And he made a promise to say, now I have understood and I've heard, other than the Mardadi and Chidagwa Debeko that you mentioned too, there's also been an issue that the council in Mavuku has not been delivering to the people. And he made a deliberate promise to say, once we get into office, we are going to make sure we amend the laws that govern local councils and urban councils. We are going to make sure that we create the office of what is called the executive mayor. A mayor who is accountable, a mayor and a council that is accountable to his people. That is a major stride because now it creates a demarcation between service delivery and the central government. It makes sure that whatever budget is going to be placed by government is going to be directed to communities with community-based needs in mind.
Acie, do you think that the people of Mavuku and surrounds bought into that, considering the state of their amenities, their roads? I've been to Mavuku and those roads are terrible. And obviously it's been an MDC-run council. Do you think that they were swayed or persuaded?
I wasn't there. Agerncy was, and he's just highlighted to me now 2 critical fails. So if the president of MDC went and acknowledged that the debacle happening in the city council, where the city council, the MDC city council is failing its people and they must make the necessary reforms to change that, that's an admission that MDC city councils have failed. As a matter of fact, don't ever tell me about ZANU-PF's failure again without telling me about MDC city council's failures. Because in Mavuku, unlike an MP actually, unlike a member of parliament, a councillor actually has more access to executive-controlled functions, like the public services, like the road, the mvura, the magetsi, the rates. So on the issue of the councillors, I'm glad MDC realizes that they've been messing up the council ever since they came in. In fact, MDC city councils have never done one positive thing. I am glad he gets a chance to respond. If he can tell me one positive thing MDC city councils have done in Harare. But the second thing he admitted to, which, again, I didn't know that they are this ignorant. So I actually run a business in Caledonia. and I happen to have been very involved in the primary elections for Caledonia. So I understand the Harare East constituency map very, very well. I was part of Terence Mukupe's campaign team when we ran in the last election. The place where they had their rally, that place where they call Gazebo, while the rally may have been for people, I mean, none of us can tell Mumbai, but that very center is actually a polling station for Harare East. Pagazibo, polling station, Harare East. Now, of course, we can't validate that right now, so we can do this tomorrow in the next show, just to validate to him that I hope they are as clueless. I hope MDC is as clueless about where the delimitation zones are as agency is, because my God, monokumbara no votera kwa ifudza gorerino, monoku glenora no votera kumbare gorerino, osonzo sonzi tariko election, imango ita dzungu. Kudza dzungu akuzuriko election. Dzungu idzungu, aina kuriko election.
I'll categorically respond to the two issues that he raised in contestation of the submissions I made. Number one, you mentioned the issue of the delimitation of constituencies. I would urge the public, and I would urge our viewers, to do an incisive investigation into where the rally in Gormont South happened today. And then maybe tomorrow we can start on that note. If the rally today happened in Harare East, I'll give him $1,000.
Oh my goodness, we're having another bet on this show.
If it happened in Harare East, I'll give him $1,000. But anyway, let's come back. I want to come back. I want to come back again to the other issue that you raised, the city council's issue. So look, if you were listening with the intention of understanding my submissions, you'll note that I said the president acknowledged one thing. He did not acknowledge the failure of the city councils or of our councillors.
So he didn't acknowledge the failure.
He acknowledged the friction that existed between the council itself and the central government.
The failure.
So here's the thing. You need to be very critical when you analyze such things. Look at even Harare itself. Munom, Harare. We have had issues between the city of Harare, as run by Councillor Ben, and the Minister of Local Government. There's been an overlap of obligations because the minister still retains overreaching powers. The minister is ZANU-PF. The mayor is MDC. Friction has been the major highlight of council and the local government ministry in Zimbabwe. Not just in Harare, not just in Mavuko, but in the country as a whole. So President today went to the root of that problem and made a pledge to the people of Zimbabwe that when we get into government, we'll make sure that this friction never happens again because it hampers service delivery. It affects the ordinary citizen. So we will make sure we have an executive mayor. Do you know what an executive mayor is? An executive mayor simply means that he's got a responsibility to report not to the minister, but to the people that elected him. He's got a responsibility to manage a budget that is given for purposes of service delivery. He's got a responsibility of managing even the funds and rates that are paid within his purview for the purpose of service delivery. That's the promise and pledge that President Nelson Chamisa made to the people.
Also, there's no failure. Takanganisa MDC Credit Council, there's no failure. That's the reason.
That's a cheaper We want to thank you for tuning in to Election Playbook. But before we go, I know you've got the answer to this one, Agerncy, so I'm not going to give you this question. I'm going to give it to Acie.
Right.
Okay.
Will Nelson Chamisa succeed in stopping the election?
Absolutely not. These elections are going to go on. People are going to vote. The result will be contested, I'm sure. But one thing I will see, he bet $1,000. I will bet him 5. That these elections, these elections for Monday, these ones are going on. These ones, there is no anything that the MDC is imagining in its head that can stop these elections. If these elections can be stopped by MDC,
thank you very much, Acie. You have been watching Election Playbook, and as usual, these two gentlemen, they love to debate and to gamble and to bet. So stay tuned. Tomorrow at the same time, we'll be live again. We'll be looking at the election playfield and more contentious issues. Tomorrow we've got the ZEC story still carrying on with the opposition. And of course, we will have a look at whatever rallies will be taking place around the country. So please stay tuned tomorrow at 9 o'clock on this Facebook page. Thank you.